Hi y'all, I'm Amy. I'm going to be your at-home art instructor for the day. I'm really excited about this group project. I hope you are too. In this video you will find an explanation about said project and all the tips that I use on a daily basis to make my art. So with that said, let's get started. Hey there! If you are watching this video, then you have the design with all the people. So when these are all connected, each one of these will have another heart. So it's like a little paper chain of people that with the cutouts have hearts. I hope that made sense. So things to keep in mind for this project is, first things first, you want to make sure your design is right side up, which you can just flip it over. I've used the back to practice, and you'll have a label on it, and that label will have a letter and a number, and in this case probably say people. Just make sure that it is all right side up and flip it back over like this, and then you know that what you're painting is going to be right side up. Should be a little bit easier on this one too, because you'll know if your human's upside down. So what you will need for this project is something to cover up your surface that you're painting on. You can use a towel. I'm using an old sheet. Newspaper works, Saran wrap. But whatever you use, know that it's probably going to get paint on it, so you want it to be something you're fine with getting messed up. You'll want a paint rag, which you can use a paper towel, or in this is a dish towel, or old t-shirt or a sock, whatever you don't mind becoming a paint rag for life. You'll have your colors, your canvas, your paintbrush, and I use this jar. I've used it for like 7 years at least to put water in, but any cup will work. Any container that you don't mind getting paint on will work as your water jar. And then I have a piece of glass from when I'd scrapbook as my paint palette, because the acrylic paint comes off of the glass really easily. When it's dry, you can just kind of scrape it off, or when it's wet, wash it off. But so if you don't have something like this, I know this is like a crafty thing, you can use some wax paper, or the underside of a Tupperware container or a Tupperware lid. You can even use some saran wrap and saran wrap something so that you paint on top of that, and then you can just throw that away. Just make sure whatever you're using, you're okay with it getting paint on. Same with the clothes you're wearing. You want to wear kind of crummy clothes, because it's so easy to, I know I say it a lot, but paint gets on everything. At least for me, I live with paint on everything, no matter how careful I am. So with that said, I just go ahead and start by opening all of my paints, which can get a little messy sometimes. And then I scoop my paints out onto my paint palette. And it's kind of a scoop and twirl, but I try not to scoop above the bristles, because otherwise you're kind of just wasting paint and it's harder to get it off of the brush. And then I rinse in between each scoop of colors so that I'm not contaminating the colors. And then when I rinse it, I'm not smushing the brush down, I'm just swirling it around really fast. And that kind of gets most of the paint off. And then I wipe it on my paint rag to make sure that the water's clear, so I'm not about to accidentally put pink back in the yellow when I didn't know that there was pink on my brush. Almost done. So you scoop out what you think you'll need. You can always scoop out more later. That's my motto, is I go in waves so that I don't get all of the paint out at once. And so from here, your design might have some pencil marks on it, or some little spots where you can tell that I've painted over it some. That's fine. As you're painting over it, those will disappear, because that's just what paint does. With that said, I recommend, if you're gonna kind of do a design, don't use a pencil, because it is hard to paint over. Use the lightest color you have, to kind of map out whatever you want to do. In this case, I just quickly did a little flower. So, and it's fine if you paint on these little black lines a little bit, because we'll end up crisping those up at the end, so that we'll still see the finished product design when you return them. But you don't have to, it's no big stress. You can always paint over it. This 1-inch border, nothing out here will be seen when they all get put together. This is a safety border so that you can have a little playroom when you're working. So just keep that in mind. Nothing out here will be seen. It's just what's in this box, and that is simple enough. When I mix colors, I use white a lot of the times, and that white helps cover up whatever imperfection on that canvas that I don't want to see. So in this case, a couple of lines that I got a little too thick on, I can put that white over it and then it's gone. But if I would have tried to do that with blue, you still would have seen through it. It's cool how colors work. So this white creates a more opaque tone for whatever color you do decide to use. And so I mixed it in with the yellow because that's just the color that I chose. And it shows that even though these are both really light colors, it just covered up that black line, which is pretty terrific. So I want to use a little bit of pink too. And again, I'll need to use the white to cover up my lines here. And I like to paint in layers. I think it's very necessary for acrylics to have to paint in layers because it is the thinner paint, and as you put the white into the color, it does make it more pastel-like. So on the second, you let it dry all the way and then come back with more pink on top, and it'll be brighter the next time. But until that white is dry, it will continuously make that pink a little bit more pastel than you might plan on. Now, you can paint whatever you'd like here. If you have a favorite sports team and you want to paint their jersey on there, or say you really like nature, so you want to paint yourself green like grass, and maybe make a little field. You can, I think maybe, kind of like that one. I was inspired by nature, so I painted a green person with some clouds, and they're my little grassy person. And then once that's dry, you can go back over it and create more detail. This one I'm just playing with the colors, trying to mix. If you've never mixed colors before, this is almost your primer. Primary colors are blue, yellow, and it would be red, but in this case we have a pink, so it's almost a primary color, but not. But it will act as our red if we so choose to create an orange. So you can mix the blue and the yellow together to get green, or you can mix the yellow and the pink together to get an orange, or you can mix the pink and the blue together to get a purple. So I love color. You can do whatever you want. But a lot of the times, if you're not careful, it just gets really muddied. Patience is key. So I'm going to put some more pink over here. And I know I say it a lot, but layers are your friend. It just allows so much more control, because when your whole canvas is wet, it's with new paint, it's really hard to get crisp little lines and to get the detail that you'd like when everything on the canvas wants to move with every brush stroke. So you saw how I had like some little black spots that I'm covering up with some white paint just because I didn't want to see them. I messed up a little. And now they're done. So, which that I should probably let dry some first, because if I go to try to paint over it, it takes the paint away. Now you can get as crazy detailed on this design as you want, or you can just paint solid colors. it's really whatever you want to do. That's the joy of this, is you get to be in charge of what you're creating. Imagination is wonderful. Do what makes you happy. Paint something that makes you smile, that you enjoy. Because if you can't enjoy what you're doing, then it's really hard to want to do it. And I love painting, so I could just do that all day. But, you know, I know not everybody, some people like to read more than paint. So maybe put some words on your painting, or you know, I was also a big sports person, so you might like sports more than art. You can make it really sports oriented and do something there, make it look like it's playing soccer or wrestling or even baseball, whatever you like. But that's the point, is to do what you like, to have this moment of self-indulgence, of being in charge, of creating something that makes you happy. Because ultimately, I bet that'll make somebody else happy too. And that's, if we can't make other people happy, what's the point? We should just do things to make others smile, and life is so much better. But you want to be able to smile too, you know? So make something that makes you smile with the intent of making others smile. That is the best we can hope for in life, I think. But I know I'm just rambling on as I paint. It's so easy to ramble and paint and play and enjoy. Ooh, almost mixed my colors wrong. But I think y'all get the idea. It's just enjoy. Maybe painting is a brand new experience for you. Just enjoy experimenting with the colors and the way they move differently, because every color has its own way that it likes to get onto the canvas, and sometimes it's a learning process. But I definitely recommend trying the layers, because you can get vibrant colors and more detail, and it's just patience, just about patience. But look how much paint I've covered, and I still have so much more paint left. So don't be afraid to do it in layers, or that you're gonna run out of paint fast, because if you make sure to just get a little bit at a time, keep your brush wet, and not glob it on there, you can make a little go a long way. Okay, so we'll say, you know, I should stop, because if I don't stop now, I won't ever stop. I could go forever. So now that I've got the colors in, and it's just a mishmash of creativity, I'm gonna use the black now, which I just left in the little container because I know I'm not gonna be mixing this color. And I come back through and re-outline the little person, so that all those little wishy-washy marks that I made that covered up the outline go away, and you get this nice crisp human again. Or outline, in this case, human. And I just, again, a little bit of paint on your brush goes a long way. You don't want to glob it on there. And I use the tip of the brush. I don't use the whole thing. I kind of watch where the paint is located on the brush and move it accordingly, because it's very easy to glob. And a lot of times when I'm making a straight line, or I want a crisp, clean line, I'm almost pushing the paint along instead of feeling like I'm using a brush stroke. I'll watch it on the corner beat up and roll, and you just kind of push it along. And then, because you can see on that edge, that's what I'm watching. and that keeps it crisp and clean. And then at the end, if it messes up, you can just kind of cover it up some. Well, this was fun. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope that it's been helpful. And when you're finished, after it's all dry, make sure that you sign it, because you should definitely be proud of what you make. And you can do it in a little corner here or up here, wherever you want. Just make sure it's not on this outline, because you won't be able to see it when we put it all together. And you should definitely be able to see your name, because you should be proud of what you make. And oh, you need to know how to clean things up. Well, you might already know, but if this is your first time painting, or maybe you use watercolors all the time instead. So any of these paints that have not been mixed yet, you can scoop back up and put back in. Make sure to rinse your brush each time between, so you're not contaminating it by putting different colors back in. And then snap, snap, snap. Make sure these little lids are on really good. Don't want a mess happening. That has happened to me more than once. And then you can just rinse out your brush really well in the sink, and rinse the water down the sink too. Just wash the sink out afterwards, because otherwise the paint will stay in there. And then clean off your paint palette by either, it depends on what you use, but sometimes you can wait until the paint dries and peel it off, or just wash it off automatically if it's water safe, or maybe just throw it away if you use something disposable. So I have really enjoyed this time. Thank you so much for watching it. I hope that you've enjoyed and you've learned something. And if you have any questions, just put it in the comments below. Have a wonderful day.